doesn't bring you a sense of community? Do you feel like people are trying to force you to take a side in this silly culture war? Does your media have you feeling too conservative, too woke, too religious, too heathenish, not enough whatever, like a freak? That's because you're not a character. You're a real person. You're messy, and you don't fit into a box. Good news, we're freaks too.
Would you like to melt your stress away? Get connected to a community of other misfits? Maybe listen to the misfits? Stop feeling like a lonely outsider surrounded by people trying to enlist you in a war you want no part of. Become a contented member of a community that requires only that you live your best life and leave others to live theirs.
Feel a sense of belonging while opting out of the culture war. This is Peace Freqs.
How is everybody doing? Welcome to yet again Peace Freqs. I'm Nikki V here as always with my lovely wife and co-host Lizzie. How are you doing there, babe?
Oh, it's all good. What's up, people?
That's a good question. What is up, people? It's been a weird world. I know we've been kind of slacking on episodes lately. We missed last week, right?
Yeah, that's quite possible.
Did we miss the week before?
I'm not sure. Bear with us. We're kind of getting back on track, just like everybody's kind of getting back on track right now.
Strangely enough, Nick worked like a full work week last week, which actually made getting stuff done odd. But all those people that needed money from their checks, unfortunately, I'm the guy that fills those machines. So, you know.
Yeah, there you go.
There was a lot of need for me, apparently. But we are back here once again. We just recorded an episode that is not this episode, and it was a lot of fun. But this episode was a lot of fun, too, and I'm excited to bring it to you. I just heard of this guest not terribly long ago, I believe, on Eric Heiler's podcast, Rebel with a Cause.
Yeah.
And she was a lot of fun. I'm going to be honest, when we actually talked to her, she was even a lot more fun than I thought she was going to be. We had a lot more in common than I thought.
Well, you guys both came from, that other side from most of the people who end up in the liberty sphere or whatever. So
it is good to know another person of the left. That is, was a new thing. There's not a whole lot of us out there. It's basically her, me, and Michael Bolden, as far as I can tell. Anyways, it was a lot of fun. What's been going on outside of that? How are you dealing with like all the Karens and whatnot?
I mean, I've made some interesting choices as we went into this whole shelter in place type of thing or whatever, because there's people out there we were talking about that they decided to read all of Jane Austen's work, which I would have loved to have done. I went in the opposite direction though. I read 1984 and Fahrenheit 451 and Brave New World and Atlas Shrugged
and The Fountainhead
and The Fountainhead. So
well, you're just prepping for what we expect to happen. That's all that is.
Just got a lot more other things going on in the brain pan at this point. So
I gotcha.
Yeah.
So, well, let's not belabor it. Let's get on into this interview, and I hope you folks enjoy. Welcome, Jessica Green, to Peace Freqs. I'm Nikki B. Lizzie. How's everybody doing today?
Good, really good.
So we were talking a little bit about being old,
Yes.
like you are.
you're going to be the same age she is in about like a month. So
Oh.
yeah, that's why he's.
I'm turning 37 in a month, so I'll be one-upping at the same time.
Nice.
But it just means that I'm a level ahead.
That's right.
So as any gamer knows, the higher the level, the stronger the character.
Also true.
So, yeah.
And at the rate you're going to be, like a 70th level wizard in no time.
Pretty sure.
So you're actually, I don't know if you're new to all of this stuff, but you kind of came on the scene pretty quickly, and everyone's like, yeah, get Jessica Green on. She's the person to talk to. I listened a little bit to your YouTube cast.
Cool.
Because people don't like sharing things to the podcatchers. They want to be video personalities and all that shit.
Yeah, mine is more laziness that just do YouTube. I have others, like other podcatchers like Spotify and stuff, but rarely does a new episode make it up in time. YouTube's the place to find me.
Right
Yes,
on.
I learned that because I was trying to find episodes to post for This Week in Liverpods, and like, why do you people make it so hard for me to share your podcasts? Like,
Yeah.
I have to hunt things down and go through a million steps. Yours, I had to literally download the video off of YouTube, like, and rip the audio out of it to use it in the show. And I'm like,
That's impressive. That's really impressive, though. I don't know how to do that.
it's not that complicated, but it is a lot of steps that I don't like to go through. I like to just drag the MP3s from my iTunes into my DAW and do that. But I liked your show enough that I actually went through the horrible hassle that all was.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that.
You're worth it.
I
So-
appreciate it. I'll try to be better about that and make sure I put the audio out.
You do you. Laziness is what makes you who you are, Jessica Green. Apparently,
That's true. That's a true statement.
it is definitely part of what makes me who I am. So
I've heard it argued it's a sign of intelligence because why do extra stuff you don't need to do
There
to
you
accomplish
go.
the things you want to do? So
I like the way you think.
yeah.
I like the way you think.
I'm just thinking of trying to grow a podcast without people being able to find it. And believe me, you're not even like. I actually could find yours a few places. I have people out there that like you have to go to their Facebook page to hear them, and I'm like, no one's going to listen to your podcast, and this could probably be why it's not growing as fast as you'd like it to.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point. And see, I know that though, and so I have podcaster shame.
It's you, and that's exactly you're like you want to dip your toe in, but you don't want to have all of the feds on you all at once.
well, there's that.
Yeah.
So you got to
yeah.
stay small.
Aside from all the book lists I'm on, so yeah, they know. I'm sure they know about me by now, but they're like, she's not a threat.
Well, the weird thing about dealing with the feds is that you think that you got to be a big person for them to take you down, but you don't. The key is they've got to take like a combination of big people and small people, so that they can like if they only took big people, everyone would stay small. You'd all just stop growing at a certain point. Like, oh, we're under the radar now. So they got to take some of the under the radar ones and make a message out of them.
I'm not sure that was reassuring.
It's not, but at the same time, I do. Aside from my opinions, I'm a pretty clean-nosed citizen. So, I mean, there wouldn't be much they could get me on other than, like, I don't know, there might be some rain barrel ordinance in my town that I'm not aware of, or they always find something.
There's definitely a rain barrel ordinance in your town that you were
Yeah.
aware of.
that I did not give a shit about before I put my rain barrels up. So if they take me down, it'll be for that.
Yeah. So, Liz, have you listened to Jessica's podcast?
Not yet.
She did one on prepping.
Well, I'm sure she did because
So,
her podcast is awesome.
you're actually interested
Thank
in
you.
that topic.
I am,
And you
I am.
failed to
Yeah.
listen.
It's very surface level for beginners. So it's if you're interested in prepping, it's probably stuff that you've already heard before. Mine was kind of that effort was directed at people who had been panicking because there were shelves that were empty, saying, "Oh gosh, maybe we should have been preppers. Maybe we should become preppers." And it was actually meant to sort of calm people down and say, "Look, don't buy a bucket of MREs that costs $500. There's a way to do this."
Gotcha.
Yeah. So you probably heard pantry rotation and things like that, and that's just like basic surface level stuff.
I mean, a little bit of it. What made me really interested in listening to like a beginner prepper feed, kind of like what you're talking about, is just the fact that like I've read a lot of stuff and seen a lot of stuff, and I haven't actually started doing it yet. So kind of walking through it with someone is probably really useful, and I think a lot more hopeful than a lot of the things you could be watching on YouTube right now.
Yeah.
And Liz's approach to prepping is like, so when most people, they go to the prepping sites. Like, that's where they go.
Mhm,
Liz
mhm.
goes to how do you survive the depression websites or
Yeah.
historical living websites.
Well, that's how my brain
actually-
works.
Like, how did people live through the 1700s?
That's actually I'm a history student, not in any like official capacity. I'm just passionate about learning about history, and I come from the same school of thought. Like, how were they doing things during the Depression? And that's actually way better than going to a prepper site and being like, okay, you need 500 gallons of rain barrels, and you need shelves full of ready to eat meals, and you need gas mask and duct tape and all. I don't know. I don't know what's on the prepper sites. I don't go there.
The ready to eats are so difficult because you've got to find which ones are actually good.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of them aren't. Yeah.
We stumbled across a website that I liked, and she seemed to have a breakdown on which particular companies she liked the most.
Mm-hmm.
And the one actually had freeze-dried ice cream sandwiches, which sounds awesome.
Okay. I remember the astronaut ice cream from when we were kids.
Right?
And so that kind of piques my interest because I'm like, there might be some nostalgia factor there.
Well, and she said it's definitely like some space age stuff. It's not like what it is. But if you have like a hungry child,
Yeah.
who's like freaking out, there's a lot of normalcy in that, even being
get
like
you.
not quite the real thing. And we do have the 1 6-year-old who's been taking this like a champ. Honestly, I don't know that she actually really has any grasp of it.
Mm-hmm. I think for a lot of kids, it's like, hey, early summer vacation, you know?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Well, our kid's homeschooled, so from the get-go, nothing's changed.
Oh,
for her.
yeah.
The only thing that's changed is Zoom meetings with her friends that she can't see in person.
Yeah, I know that's hard, especially like kids who can't go back to school and can't see their friends and can't see their teachers. I know that's mixing things up. You know, routine is really
Yeah.
important. I mean, even for me, when my routine gets messed up, I'm all ready to cry. So yeah, I encourage people when I'm in talking to them about building a larder or building a prepper pantry that they get foods that are normal to them, things that they eat all the time anyway. Not only does it help keep your pantry fresh, but it's for your morale because the foods that you eat are like have a lot to do with your personality. You know, not your personality, but like your how you feel. If you have the things that you like, you're going to be better and be in a better mood and able to do more work and just be generally happier even if something crazy is going on. So it's like I don't want to have to eat like cardboard, freeze-dried things that are foreign to me because that's going to knock my morale down, especially if I'm in an emergency situation.
Like, what was it like once we kind of did what we needed to make sure we could weather it? The first chance, like we had a little extra. I'm like, all right, Liz, I need you to go buy some DiGiorno pizzas and some Pop-Tarts.
Yeah.
Find them.
Yeah.
Because those are the warm fuzzy things.
Yeah, those
Do
will make
you-
me feel okay.
do you put
I hadn't eaten Pop-Tarts in years, by the way, but for some reason it just seemed like that I need those. This is gonna make this a lot better.
Did you put them in the toaster and put butter on them?
Well, that's the only way you're allowed to eat them.
Okay, all right,
See,
all right.
I was not
wanted to
aware that
make
that was
sure.
a thing. So I was like, what are you doing with the butter
Yeah.
right now?
But you're trying to be as bad as possible when you put butter on a Pop-Tart, and it's so good.
Yeah, those pastries are just absolutely disgusting. They're dry as hell, and like without that heat in the butter, they're terrible.
Yeah, I mean, I think as a kid, because your palate is not developed, you're like, these are great. But as an adult, you're like, what am I doing to myself?
My in college, the one thing I used to do with them, I used to get the brown sugar cinnamon ones, and I'd put peanut butter on them, like crunchy peanut butter, and I could eat because you could put the peanut butter on the crappy side, and
Okay.
and then like you eat them upside down, and they were
Mhm,
pretty okay that way.
That sounds amazing.
You don't actually need. I didn't need to heat them up that way because it
Yeah.
meant like fucking with the toaster oven.
Yeah, this is just grab and go. I like it.
Nice.
But given a choice, it's butter and
Yeah.
So your story was interesting. I can't remember. I think I actually first heard you was on Eric Hyler's show.
Okay.
Does that
Yeah.
sound correct?
Yeah, I was he's on his is Rebel with a Cause.
It is what it is.
Yeah, I actually know him through an anarcho-Christian Facebook group.
Interesting. Like Mr. Stevens group.
Yes. Yeah, Stephen and Kayla, they are wonderful people and they've been so accepting and so kind and I just I
He's a
like the
great
group.
guy.
Yeah, he is. He is a great guy and I learned so much from that group. There a lot of people there are like scholars and it's way above my pay grade, but every time I go in there and I'm like reading things, I'm like, "Oh, I hadn't considered that before." And then I'll like look in the Bible and I'll read it and I'll be like, "Oh, it does say that. How interesting."
I'm always fascinated by you Christian folks that tolerate me.
Yeah.
me,
Well, that's the idea, right? I mean,
me and Eric host a what do you call it? We host a bonus show where we talk about The Expanse. And I'm like,
The Expanse is really good.
it's
I
the only good sci-fi out there right now, as far as I'm concerned. But
I really like how they tried to stay true to physics and how
yeah,
when somebody gets shot, they float. Like that's amazing. That's an amazing detail.
I mean, it's also a really well written show.
Yeah.
Unlike all the Star Wars shows that they want you to.
Oh, boo. And not to boo because I don't like Star Wars. I'm a Star Wars fan. I just don't like some of the direction they're taking the franchise in right
And
now.
Star Trek Discovery, you could really get into that.
Yeah. I
It's a tough
could.
time to be a
Or
to be a
Picard,
nerd for that
where
stuff right now.
Picard,
You said
where
it. You said it.
spoilers, they
Oh.
kill Picard.
Did they kill him already?
Oh yeah,
Which-
the final episode is they've killed him, and then they bring him back immediately as a robot with all the memories.
What the fuck? Sorry.
I know,
I don't
right?
know
Why
if you do
would you-
cursing on your show
You
or
can, you
not.
can curse all you
Okay.
want. That is,
That's a WTF moment for me right there.
Yeah,
I
that
wasn't
was
good-
kind of my feeling.
I wasn't gonna watch it anyway, so
we all assumed that they were gonna kill him off at the end of it, and so that they could just name the ship the SS Picard or wherever it was.
yeah.
We assumed that the Picard was gonna be the ship, and they do it that way. None of us saw it coming that they were gonna make him be an android like Data with his old memories.
Yeah, that's weird and awkward.
And
Yeah.
and it's like, did nobody sit there and think, oh, this is not going to be okay? Like the people aren't going to be down for that. Like we know he's dead, so he's dead. That's not Picard. That's a skin
I don't
sack.
think they care what fans think anymore. And
Clearly
I
they
think
don't.
they're just trying to mass produce things that will sell to the widest audience possible, and keeping with canon or keeping the fans happy is not on the radar at all.
Every time I see that sheer fucking hubris,
Yeah.
like that, and if someone uses it, it just makes me angry. Like it is. I'm like, no, sheer fucking hubris is the way that you've done the show. Everything about what you've done is hubris.
It's so ironic.
I will give a
guess.
shout out though to The Mandalorian, which I think, if I remember correctly, is Vince Vaughn is creative directing that.
It's not Vince. It's the other one. It's Jon Favreau.
Oh,
John
okay,
Favreau. Okay, so yeah, I mixed them up. That's exactly what happened. Yeah.
Yeah, the other guy from Swingers.
The
Although-
Cowboys and Space guy.
Although Vince is a good libertarian, so
I can see that is done with love for the Star Wars oeuvre. And I really have appreciated The Mandalorian. And then I thought Bill Burr was an amazing cameo, and that he played that role with love too.
interesting. I'm only hoping, like, I know that they've already talked season 2 is going to get a lot closer to the movies.
Okay.
Like they're gonna be tying it into
Thanks. I hate it.
the the Force
Right.
Awakens and the Fall of Skywalker.
I really enjoyed Rogue One. I think his name's Mads Mikkelsen. He plays the
Okay.
scientist.
Okay,
He's
yeah.
awesome. And then the guy who plays Caspian, I've liked him in every movie he's been in. So I really enjoyed seeing him. I thought that was really good, but the other ones that have come out recently, I don't think too much of.
Well, I feel like that one was kind of universally appreciated, and I think part of that is because it wasn't trying to fuck with canon, and that's
Yep.
the issue. Like when the way that they treated the characters from the original trilogy in the new series is just abysmal.
Mhm. I
Like,
agree with that.
God, what they did to Luke is unconscionable.
Yeah.
And it was literally just because fuck men, we need to make women great, and the only way you can make women great is to throw all the men under the bus.
You can't have this older male character be the strength. He's got to get the strength from the woman character. And I see that for sure. And it was like, you wanted Luke to be this old, wizened Jedi. You wanted him to fulfill the role that Obi-Wan had filled for him.
Right?
And instead, he was just like this, like, washed up piece of shit. You're like, my heart's broken watching this. Like, why are you putting me through this? Like,
Take it, you will take what you need to break them, attack and make them bleed. Hey kid, always wanted to feel anything. No one cares about you anymore. Hey kid, always wanted to feel anything. No one cares about you anymore.
Hey, it means the world to Liz and I that you spend the time listening to us. And I'd hate to lose you to another podcast, but I simply have to tell you about my buddy Sean's podcast, The Porcupine Perspective. If you like your liberty raw and unfiltered, with just a hint of deep melancholic brooding, then The Porcupine Perspective is the podcast for you. They ponder big themes and real questions. This is hands down one of my favorite podcasts. So go subscribe to The Porcupine Perspective so it can be your second favorite.
Well, what it does is it undoes the hero's journey. Like, everything that he accomplished in the first 3 movies is completely undone because he ends up a washed-up piece of shit when it's all said and done. So what the fuck's the point in the hero's journey if
Like
that's
half
where
of
it ends
us
up?
saw that with our own dads. Like we didn't need to watch that again on film.
Yeah.
It's kind of traumatizing, right?
Yes.
It's not okay.
You're
Look,
like, oh, Luke,
At least
come on,
TV
man."
dad could survive this, please.
Right. It's like, take a shower. Christ.
Just care, just a little. Could you just
Yeah.
care a little?
For me, I just hate the idea of a Mary Sue so much because there's been like so many good female characters over the years. Like, and my soapbox, everyone who listens to the show has heard it a million fucking times. Tank Girl was so awesome.
Oh man, remember Tank Girl? That's
Lori
yeah.
Petty
the
just
best.
went out. Lori Petty just went out and beat ass and was a
Yeah.
badass, and you loved her for it. The thing, the glaring example of the change and how frustrating it is watching Jessica Jones on Netflix. Because the first season of Jessica Jones, she went out, she kicked ass, and was just a
Mhm.
badass, and
Mhm.
that was awesome. I loved it. I would love to watch more chicks kick ass. I'm down with that. The problem is when season 2 happens, it became Jessica Jones kicks ass, and then there's a 20-minute lecture every episode on why I'm a piece of shit because I'm a man.
Yeah.
Like, the writing became garbage. They felt like they had to put every political idea they had as, like, the dialogue, and you're like, I thought that just the chick kicking ass was a good way to get more chicks kicking ass. Why do I have to listen to a lecture about it? I don't get that.
By the time the second season of that show rolled around, there was so much like superhero themed things saturating the
Yeah.
entertainment that I just got really like it's like too sweet, like too much sugar. I can't take any more of this. And it felt like they stopped kind of telling human stories for a while because they
Yeah.
were telling all of these superhuman stories. So I didn't really watch. I think I saw that scene where she banged her co-star.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Because my husband watched it and I would walk in and out of the living room not giving a damn, but those two were banging. So I was like, hey,
Oh, what's
Yeah.
all this?
what's on what's on the TV now? So I appreciated that scene. And then the rest of it, I couldn't find any interest for it. Like
Yeah.
I did see the first season and I agree. I liked the way they set her character up and stuff. I like that she was a little bit damaged. and
You
were
also
kinda-
like David Tennant, much like everyone else.
Yeah, I mean, he's a lot of fun, and he's to see him in such a bad guy role was really cool. Like, so I thought that arc was like complete in that
Yeah.
season.
Yeah.
And then I was done with the show, and I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's what most people feel like after that last movie. I think that they're all kind of done with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to see some human stories get told again.
Do you think that the coup was actually perpetrated by Disney to cover up the fact that no one's going to watch their movies anymore?
Yeah, so Disney is super late to the game in a lot of this, and they've lost a huge market share. So they're attempting to come out with this Disney stream now, and they've bought up like so much Michael Jackson. They've bought up the rights to all the Beatles songs.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and it's so they're about to throw a lot of things in the vault. I don't know if you guys know this, but The Office is going off of Netflix at the
Oh,
end of
wow.
the year. And I don't know
Never
that
watched
that's
it in the first place.
yeah. Well, that's my jam is The Office. Like I watch The Office literally every day.
I like the
when I-
British
yeah.
IT crowd.
Okay. But I think they're going to put that in the vault. So it's like
Yeah.
Disney can take things that are, cultural icons and things that will basically, I guess I could buy it on DVD, but I don't think it's going to be available for streaming anymore. And that's the way everybody
Right.
gets their entertainment. And that sucks. So fact check me on that. I don't know for a fact that it's not going to be on streaming, but I know that they bought it. Netflix is taking it down and then Disney will own it. So I think
Wow.
we're going to see a lot of that with all kinds of things. It's like, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
God, I hope that show goes away so much. I'm so
Oh, you don't like
excited.
Sunny? I think it's done.
I liked it when people didn't take it as a roadmap for how to live life.
Oh God, no, they're not. You're not supposed to.
Yes,
They're not the heroes.
But the
Don't
problem
admire these
is
people.
the problem is most of America seem to think that this is how we're supposed to actually be.
Oh God, yeah. Whenever somebody asks me about Sunny, I say, unless you can laugh at a dead dog falling out of a baby coffin, don't watch the show.
Right.
And that's enough for most people. They're like, yeah, maybe that's not for me. Like, it's dark.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I got kicked out of the Jason Stapleton group. I won't say I got kicked out. I was pushed out, the original one back in the day, because everyone was bitching and complaining about fucking James Gunn making the jokes he was making on
Okay.
Twitter. And they were just, he's a horrible human being. And like, I'm like, when I came up in the punk scene, like all we did was make dead baby jokes.
yeah.
Like, like I don't. What's the problem here? It's in poor taste. That's kind of the point of making bad jokes, is to piss people off and make them disgusted.
People thought that they could get some power for themselves through offense and through, trying to control the way that you speak. And so comedy really got caught in the crossfire with that, because the whole point of comedy is to say something that kind of pushes the envelope or goes beyond, what you're
Yeah.
expecting to hear. And then it was like, oh, you can't say that. And any comic worth their salt is like, well, I'm gonna,
Yeah.
So I have appreciated their pushback on that kind of thing, that it's counter to the entire ethos of sort of the free person or the liberty-minded individual, that there are words that I can't say. I could choose not to say that if I don't want, like if I'm talking to someone, I'm not going to call them a dick, because then they're going to be like, oh man, why are you calling me a dick?
Yeah.
But I got to make that choice,
If they're being a dick, I might call them a dick.
But maybe you're being a dick. Maybe I want to hurt you a little bit.
So if you want to laugh, we mentioned it briefly. I think we were talking about Daniel over at Actual Anarchy, and he just sent a meme to the group chat. It's a picture of Hitler, and it says, "To those turning in your neighbors and local businesses, you did the right thing."
Oh.
Ooh.
And that's the point. It's supposed to make you go, oh,
Yeah,
'cause
right.
Then you
Maybe
think
think a
exactly.
little.
Yeah.
Speaking of terrible jokes, just for the record, they actually had a big mark through his face so that it would not be caught by Facebook.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't let you finish your story. You were saying you were in the group and that James Gunn was telling these jokes. And
Oh,
that,
no, I mean, it was just that, and like people were getting pissed off at me for like, oh, how could dare you support someone for just telling jokes?
yeah.
I don't
No.
believe for a second that James Gunn's a fucking child molester. Like, and that's the thing. Oh, if you're telling these
Okay.
jokes, you're clearly a child molester. I'm like, no, they're jokes.
Yeah.
And the same thing with.
Sucks.
I have plenty of reasons to dislike Dan Harmon, but him doing a spoof on Dexter where the character's a child molester is not that's not the thing that I'm going to hate him. I'm going to hate him for saying go and enact violence on Nazis.
Yeah.
That's what I'll hate him for.
Wow. That's pretty funny.
Well, no, he did a sketch and it was taken off the internet, but it was a sketch that he did way back in the day, and it was about him doing kind of like a play on Dexter, where he's the murderer with a heart of gold, and he kind of did a child molester with a heart of gold. Was the idea?
Pretty, yeah. That
So I
doesn't
mean,
really work,
it's
but,
just
That's
yeah,
rough. That's rough, but it's funny as shit.
but yeah, it's a funny idea because your brain is like, no, that's wrong. That's not gonna work.
Exactly. That's exactly how it's supposed to. It's supposed to make you. It's like they pull the rug out or something.
you're
and
supposed
like,
to see
"Whoa."
the irony of the first one in the second one because
Right.
Yeah.
you don't feel the same way about it.
No, and he's totally killing people. Like,
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, one's a shitty, awful human being. The other's a shitty, awful human being. Like, the context shouldn't change that much, but just that little tweak, it make you internally feel something different about it.
there
And
was
it- and
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying,
Interruptus McGee today.
it just
No,
points,
that's how this show works. It's okay.
Okay.
it just points out like the glaring issues that like we as people have with ourselves, even.
Yeah.
That you see that as being different.
In the season where they had Julia Stiles as the other main,
Hmm.
she was kind of like a sidekick to him. Something terrible had happened to her and she needed to get revenge on like these 7 men, and Dexter basically like helped her go through this list of these dudes who had like done some shit to her and helped her kill them all. And
So it's I spit on your grave, like the season.
I spit on your grave.
If you've never seen I Spit on Your Grave,
No,
it's probably because you're not a damaged person.
oh, I mean, is it a horror movie?
Oh,
It
it
is-
is.
Exploitation horror revenge movie. It's awful.
Okay,
I've only
alright.
read synopses, but
A
yeah,
woman
I
is
just-
raped and then systematically gets revenge on all of the rapists.
Get it. All right. So I have a horror movie fan group. So
Oh,
I
well, why
see.
am I not in that group?
Well, okay
Yeah.
then.
well, because I'm terrible at running it. But basically, we have a challenge for Halloween. It starts every July 23rd, and that's the 100th day before Halloween. And then you
Okay.
watch a horror movie every night for 100 nights leading up to Halloween. And I've never completed the challenge. The furthest I got was 53.
Do you have a specific list that you have to go through?
I do put out a list, but you're not required to use the list. I just do it as to help, because people are like, where the F am I going to find 100 horror movies? And I'm like, Jesse's got you.
Well, invite me to that group because I am a horror
Yeah,
movie
Nicole loves
aficionado,
that.
and Liz
Yeah.
hates it. So
Okay. Yeah.
I'm
I mean,
a weenie. That's all.
I went and saw Black Christmas in like 2004 when they released the first remake in theaters on Christmas Day.
oh, wow.
So
Okay, Black
I fucking
Christmas.
love my.
And the remake from 2003.
It was some time back. I was in college when it came out. That's what I can recall. I know they just did a remake, I think, this year that was gender swapping things.
Okay. Okay.
The original one was from like the 70s or 80s. It was the original one was very the original slasher kind of thing. And the
Got
second
you.
one was them like amping it up to 11. It was kind of like the Rob Zombie version of the original.
Right. Let's see how far we can push this. The
Him making the cookies out of like his mother's back was pretty fucking sweet.
Are you aware of Lars von Trier?
Yeah.
We my husband dropped out of the challenge after we watched Antichrist.
Oh good lord.
That was way too far for him. He was like walking out of the room. He was angry. He's like, "Why did I have to watch that?" I was like, "Well, you didn't have to." Like,
I Spit on Your Grave is notorious because it has a scene where in revenge she coerces a man into a bathtub and is jerking him off in the bathtub and then cuts off his
yeah,
shit
I
in
think
the
I know
bathtub.
about this. Yeah, I know about this movie. Okay.
And then like he's like, oh, it feels so good and it kind of hurts. And then like he realizes like she steps out of this white tiled room and just leaves him in this bathtub bleeding out of where his dick used to be. And it's like
Well-
so fucking hard to watch. But it's like
Damn.
yeah, can't really argue, dude. That's what you get.
But the reason so that was kind of the Julia Stiles character impetus in that season of Dexter. And
Yeah.
she and he go through, and spoiler alert, they kill all of these people, and he thought he found a companion. And he's like,
Ah.
wow, I finally found like this beautiful lady who's like me and we can be together forever. And then she was like, nah, dude, after I killed these dudes, I don't want to kill like other people. I just wanted to kill these dudes.
Yeah.
And so
Gotcha.
she's gonna like go to Canada and like get married or something. So yeah, I think it was kind of an interesting turn for that show to say, you know, sorry, Dexter, you're not gonna get your happily ever after. You're not gonna find your
Yeah.
penguin or your soulmate. You're fucked up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't
Yeah.
get to pretend you're a normal person. You're not
Right,
gonna
and-
get that.
You could kind of see that with him, that he was like falling in love with her, and that he kind of he thought that there would be some normalcy in his life. And yeah, it didn't work out that way. And I like that it didn't, because, you know, A, that's not real life. And B, like, you're a crazy murderer. Like,
Yeah.
Deb was right at the end. I don't know if you guys saw the end, but Deb was right.
How's it going? This is Nikki P, and I wanted to thank you for stopping by our neck of the woods. I sure hope you enjoy listening to Peace Freaks as much as we enjoy making it. Now, as much fun as it is right now, I know it can be a lot more fun, and the way to make it more fun is to grow that community. Unfortunately for us, growing anything organically on the internet is a thing of the past, and as much as I'd like to dump Irma's college fund into growing the show, that would make me a bad parent. So if you want to help create a bigger, more badass community, stop by upgradetheshow.com. We have monthly and yearly fiat options and one-time and yearly crypto options. But don't go thinking an upgraded community is all you're going to get. All patrons of the show get access to the Freedom Choir, chock full of bonus shows, and our Zoom link to watch our interviews live. So head over to upgradetheshow.com and help us upgrade this freaky little community.
I'm gonna be honest. I never watched the show at all. I know plenty about it, but I never actually took the time to watch it. I generally try and avoid things that people like watching.
I get that.
Yeah.
There's like, if it's too pedestrian, you're like,
Well,
it's like too much to. It saturates the culture, and you can't get away from it.
Well, it's like this Tiger King thing. Like,
Oh, good
I'm
Lord.
I'm gonna not watch it specifically because it's popular. Like,
Liz, have you watched it?
Oh, good Lord, no.
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 Okay.
it's not even
I-
her kind of thing. For me, like,
No, it's not.
laughing at a bunch of meth heads sounds like fun to me. But
So I just was upset that I didn't get the memes. And I'm like,
Okay.
I have to watch this thing because there's a bunch of memes and I don't get them and I don't like that. So I did watch it, and I gotta say,
I think you can pick up from context what they were getting at.
I did not regret the time I spent watching the Tiger King.
Okay. See, and that is what I continue to hear about it.
Yeah. I was I thought I get what this is. They're gonna
Yeah.
show you some crazy people who own tigers, and man, all these people from Texas are crazy anyway. And yeah, they had me with my jaw on the floor. Like, what am I watching? Is this
Yeah.
real life? And that's the crazy part is yes, this was real life. And I don't know. I think you should watch it.
I've known carnies. I don't need to know anymore. I know how they are. I've
These are moneyed carnies. These
Money. Okay.
yeah. So
are carnies of influence.
they're crystal meth dealers, is what you're saying.
I can't even describe to you what's in this show, but no amount of guessing will ever land you close to it.
The closest thing
Lord.
that's made me want to see it is watching the Critical Drinkers fucking a video on it.
Critical drinkers.
The Critical Drinker, he's a British guy who like does his movie reviews sloppy drunk is the idea.
Oh, that's right up my alley.
He's
And he speaks with a brogue, so it's delightful.
he
Okay,
sounds
all right.
hammered drunk with a British accent, and he's
All
got
right.
pretty good taste in movies. He was very okay with it's a litmus test movie for me, and it's
Okay.
Event Horizon. If you don't like
Oh.
Event Horizon, you're just garbage people.
I agree with you. Event Horizon is
If you're just looking for too much out
combination
of
of
it.
my two favorite genres are horror and sci-fi.
Oh,
So that is like a pinnacle combining of the two of them. Like, I love Event Horizon. That's one of my favorite movies. Like, I
Oh.
can't even express. Like, I'm so happy.
Liz's like movie channel that she watches is what's his name, Doug, the guy with
Yeah. I mean, it's that one's pretty pedestrian actually. It's Nostalgia Critic or whatever it is, or
Okay.
Channel Awesome.
and I enjoy him a little bit, but like he talked mad shit on that movie, and I've never forgiven him.
Oh, he has horrible taste in movies.
Oh, no. Yeah, that's awful. That's like meeting someone who hates Tombstone.
Oh, who hates Tombstone? That movie's amazing.
There are garbage people out there who hate Tombstone, and, you know.
My one band has a clip taken from that movie that we open up our cowboy song with.
Oh,
which
right.
clip?
It's the
Tell him I'm coming, and
yeah, tell him
And
I'm
I'm bringing
coming.
hell with
and
me.
hell's coming with
Oh,
me.
man.
Hell's coming with. That's such a
that-
great quote.
That makes the hair on the back of my neck stand
Right?
up. Like, I love that. I'm like, he's coming to kill you bastards. Like,
You tell that cur that I'm coming and
Yeah.
hell's coming with me.
Oh,
And it's Kurt Russell, which makes it even better.
yeah. No,
I mean,
he's so good.
amazing. And it's like Wyatt Earp with Kevin Costner came out
Mm-hmm.
like the year after that. And that on its own is a standalone, really great movie. But it came out next to Tombstone. And
Yeah.
Tombstone hit so many of those like classic Western notes. Like, it
Oh,
was
yeah.
almost a little cheesy so that it could be part of
Yeah.
that classic Western opera. And I was like, I appreciate Tombstone so much more.
I mean, and the cast they got for it, like they outdid themselves in that movie.
That
Yeah,
is
and
the
it is so
best-
quotable.
Doc Holliday, like
Val
it's-
Kilmer
yeah.
that's the best role he ever played was
Oh, yeah.
Doc Holliday. Yeah.
Oh yeah, without
absolutely.
question. Like he's so good at it, and yeah, it's rough because it is so fucking good.
So I drink and live tweet movies, which is not
Oh.
nearly as interesting as having a YouTube channel about it. It's just something that I do as a human being.
Okay.
Like, I just get really drunk and then I live tweet. Like, watching, like, what was it? Dances with Wolves. And I'm
Oh,
like,
God.
he is stuck on this hill. Send tweet.
You gotta do Waterworld, which I think is an underrated movie.
I really liked Waterworld. I really enjoy Kevin.
It's not as
Costner.
good as The Postman though.
A lot of those.
I
movies
love
are
The
really fun.
Postman.
The Postman was amazing.
Do you guys love The Postman too?
Oh, I mean, friggin' Tom Petty is the president. Like, what is
You're
not
my
to love
new
about
best
this?
friends.
He won.
Everybody hates The Postman. I'm so excited right now.
No, it's like, didn't you used to be famous once?
Yeah.
That was
no,
a long
man.
time ago, man.
You're the one
you're
that's
famous.
Yeah. Man, I am gonna watch The Postman tonight.
Right.
Man.
My old roommate actually had a Kevin Costner collection.
There you go.
Every movie Costner had ever been in, he had on DVD.
I think part of what made me love my husband was that he also loves Kevin Costner.
There you
And
go.
yeah.
I don't know that I even like Kevin Costner. I think it's amazing that I love his movies despite him being Kevin Costner.
He's when he directs, you can tell that he loves himself because of the way he lights himself.
Oh,
He's so
sure.
beautiful,
Oh, good lord.
yeah.
Dude, if you ever have never listened to like all of the making of Waterworld,
Yeah.
that will give you an entirely new view of Kevin Costner because
Yeah.
oh my god, like essentially they wasted so much money on that movie, and you get the impression afterwards that like apparently it was just him trying to hide money from his wife in the divorce.
Oh God.
Oh,
Like,
God
like,
bless you, Kevin Costner.
Right.
You made Waterworld to hide money from your wife.
yeah.
Oh no. Oh, it's dry land. I've seen it.
Right.
So we were talking about Jessica Jones. Why don't you tell us about your time as an SJW?
Oh yeah. All right.
Yeah, I say this as a joke because
Segue.
you're one of the few people other than me who is notably not a former Republican.
Right. The liberty community skews right for sure.
And I, my introduction to all anarchism as a thought was actually Noam Chomsky, who's very anarcho-syndicalist, very lefty. Honestly, I think if I were to explain to anyone like exactly like what my politics used to be, my example that I use is now going to be Jimmy Dore because
yeah.
I was watched him on Part of the Problem a couple weeks, was it last week?
Oh, I was thrilled about that interview.
And it was great. And like Jimmy Dore sounds exactly like I did back in college when I first kind of opened up politically, which frankly isn't really all that much different than where we are now. It's just he doesn't get economics. It's like if Jimmy went and studied economics for a year, he'd be right where we are. So
Well, the fact that you've got Dave and Jimmy talking to each other, these are two camps of people that we want conversing and chatting with each other. And that's going to involve being understanding of each other's differences of our ideas. We're going to have to learn to communicate effectively because I think that people who have those ideas are right in recognizing that something is wrong in our system currently. The root cause of it is we don't agree on the root cause, but they do see conspicuous disparity in wealth and things of that nature. I think it's correct to name it. We just
Bernie gets everything right as far as like, yes, there are issues in all of these sectors. His prescription for fixing it is just the exact opposite of what you want to do. Like,
why would you empower the state more to do more of the thing they're doing wrong?
Yeah, they're fucking it up. We get that. Good. We're all on that same page. So let's let them fuck it up more. No, Bernie, no. We don't let them fuck it up more. Let's pull back a little bit. Let's maybe reel in some of that. See how that works.
I like how Jimmy was able to like ask Dave, so as a libertarian, how do you see this? Instead of saying, well, I've heard libertarians think this, that, and the other thing, making Dave start from the position of having to defend a fallacy or a misconstrued opinion. Instead, he just let him say his own piece and then was like, yeah, you know what? I kind of agree with a lot of that. And I think that's a way more effective way to communicate. And I appreciated watching those two people who do disagree on economics so much, able to find that common ground. And I was like, this is the dangerous stuff right here.
Oh, yeah.
There were two camps who aren't allowed to talk to each other, start talking, because then, we start getting together. And there's a lot more of us than there is of them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. For me, the big thing was, and it was interesting because you didn't see, like, when I watched the episode where Dave went on his show, and that was good too. Dave did very well at staying the course and saying, look, these are the places we agree. He didn't get down into the weeds about the shit that we would disagree with him on. Like,
Yep.
Don't worry about that. Let's worry about what we do see eye to eye on.
Yep.
Maybe someday they'll find their way here. Either way, bickering over dumb shit's not, helping us do what we need to do. And Dore kept like really, he was a good host, and then he kept himself kind of centered on it. But there was a degree when he came on Dave's show. I mean, he was unhinged. He was so impassioned about like everything, and like he just was just really cutting loose. And that's the thing that I loved about it is that because when Bush won that was the second time I emptied out every dish in my kitchen into my backyard.
Oh wow!
I ripped our house apart. I was furious. I wouldn't do that now. So it's like I understand coming from that place so much.
Yeah.
And it's just his thing is, I think he sees things as, these are fixable things.
Yeah.
And, where it was like the only fix for people like us is no. I mean, you need to end all of that. Like it only goes one way, and that one way is the wrong way.
It's like you're rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic.
Yeah.
Is what a lot of people say. And I think that's how anarchists kind of see the government. Like, why are you going to triage something that's like sinking? It's like, we got to get off the boat. And I had a lot of anger that came from the idea that if we could just get the right people into government, then this would be okay. But, these people won't do what they need to do. And these people, are working against us and stuff. And so it's that belief that the state can still be saved if you just get the right people in there that I think is so disheartening. Like, I'm sure that Bernie Sanders people are just completely like dejected and ready to drop out of the political system right now, which might end up being a good thing for, liberty if people can communicate in effective ways that don't push people away.
Yeah.
And I know it's like so hard to do. And I'm not an expert and I don't always do it myself. But there's a unique opportunity right now because people, I think, are open because they're wounded and that there's fertile ground there. And so I
hope
would
you're right.
I hope so too. And that worked. That's how it worked with me. And I have to believe that if it worked with me that way, that I wouldn't be the only one, that other people would be able to have their minds turned too. It's just something's got to shake you up because if you're locked in your little zone, everything kind of bounces off. But if something jars you or shakes you and you're like reeling from it, then there's, opportunity. There's fertile soil that maybe some seeds can fall into.
Yeah.
What was the thing that like really bumped you? What is the do you have like a one thing? Like for me, I think a lot what brought me over here I think was actually education.
Okay.
That's always been my big deal. Like I will soapbox about the school system till I'm blue in the face and dead. But, obviously most of the people over here are here because they're anti-war. And I'm of the mind that we're not going to stop the wars until you educate the kids to not fucking throw themselves at the into the army.
Yeah. I think that the anti-war arguments of anarchists are very convincing to me because I always have been anti-war. But a lot of people will ask me sort of, what is your Ron Paul moment? Like, what's the thing that made you turn toward liberty? And I actually don't have a Ron Paul moment. I have a Rand Paul moment.
Oh,
that's okay.
Yeah.
Mine was a magician. That's how I ended up over.
Right on. That's a great entry story. I like. We're gonna have to hear about that.
Pendulette. That's how I got here.
Okay, great. Yeah, I love bullshit. That's a great show.
I was listening to his show or his podcast, Penn Sunday School, when I was kind of trying to get more in touch with like my religious views.
Okay.
As they are, and so it's an atheist libertarian podcast basically.
Okay. Yeah.
And from there, I kind of I stumbled across this comedian, Big J Okerson.
Okay. Yeah, I know about Big J.
And then Big J, I liked him on Legion of Skanks, and then I wanted to hear that other guy on the show's podcast. I'd heard libertarianism through that magician guy, and then it just kind of things started rolling in that direction. Do you like your libertarian podcast host leather-clad on a motorcycle running from Nazis in black and white? I'm sure my friend Eric in no way resembles that at all, but his Rebel with a Cause podcast is guaranteed to bring you that same rebellious spirit, bringing in guests from all over the political wheel, bringing with it his own personal blend of irreverence and, dare I say it, down-home charm. So head on over to the Rebel with a Cause podcast and begin your own rebellion against bad podcasts.
Wow. It's amazing how often comedy is a path for changing your political ideas. And it's like, gosh, George Carlin will probably be an a political influence on generations.
He's probably made more anarchists than anybody else on the
Yeah.
planet.
And the more goes on, the more you hear his words, and the truth of them rings like a bell. It's crazy. But yeah, so Rand Paul didn't actually do anything to make me libertarian. Rand Paul got his ass kicked by his neighbor
Oh, okay.
pretty violently.
And you watched your friends cheering it on.
And I watched my friends cheering it on, and I was like,
I see.
guys, this is not the kind of thing, we ought to be doing. Like, we're not the kind of people who cheer on political violence, right?
I used to entertain the idea of like still having leftist friends, and then
They won't allow that.
no, all of my friends were like, no, you punch Nazis. You can be violent with these people, and I'm like, no, like if you accept that, like there is nothing that makes that okay.
Yeah.
They're people. They're people. Shitty ideas, yes. Please try and talk them out of their shitty ideas, but you can't hurt people who are not hurting others.
Mm-hmm.
By all means, if they fucking start swinging, defend yourself and do that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you cannot enact violence on those people. And it broke up my my D&D, my online D&D group that I played with all my buddies from high school.
Bummer.
Like all my friends from high school, don't talk to them anymore
Yeah.
because they're all very supportive of. And I had one guy who's like, well, my daughter's half Jewish and they want her to die. Like, first off, most of the alt-right, no, they just want to not have to be around her. And yes, it's stupid, but they're not talking about killing anybody. They just want to separate. Please let them go be
Yeah.
shitty racists over there away from me. I'd love for that.
Well, it's about thought crime. Like, you're not.
Yeah.
They're wanting to make what you think illegal. You know what I'm saying? And like that, by the nature of you having bad thoughts, you can then be punished physically. And it's like so antithetical to the idea of the freedom of speech. You're not even talking about they shouldn't even be allowed to say it. You're saying they shouldn't be allowed to think it or feel it in their hearts.
Yeah.
And, so when you drive these people into the dark shadows, it doesn't make them better people. They don't fear the dark shadow.
Just prove them right.
Validate. It proves them right. Exactly.
Mhm.
And so I'm trying to remember the dude's name. He was on Joe Rogan, and he's a man who was Daryl Dixon, maybe.
Oh, I watched this documentary years ago.
Did you say? Okay, so so he would talk to KKK members, and
Mhm.
like I can imagine what his friends and family thought. Like, holy crap, dude, what are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
don't talk to these freaks. They'll
No.
freaking kill you.
And
And-
no, what's fucked up is you watch his documentary and there's a couple interactions with young black men in that where
Yeah.
they just read him the riot act about what a piece of shit he is. And it's like,
Yeah.
I can show where I've actually changed hearts. I have made actual people leave their hate behind.
Mhm, mhm.
What do you have to show for it? And they're like, nah, you're a piece of shit. Nothing you're doing matters. You're nothing. You're garbage. And you're like, he can actually show results. Like, what do you have?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's like 30 different guys have come out of the Klan because they talked to him, or more so he talked to them. And
Right.
like he forced the issue, and he's like, well, why do you hate me? And they can't give him an answer. And they're like, maybe this is all bullshit. And so instead of kicking those guys down and saying you're evil and no one should talk to you and good luck being part of our society, we don't want you.
You
He was
send
just
them
like,
graphic sexual depictions of you fucking your black wife.
No, pretty sure that's not how that works.
yeah. Let's not do that.
I
But
want to every time they
maybe
mention it,
talking.
though.
Yeah,
maybe
but
try talking first.
I want to try and discuss them.
Yeah. So I really appreciate
You don't like that one? How about this?
and because I was in a group where you definitely were not allowed to talk to anybody who was outside of the Tom Woods 3x5 card of allowable opinion.
right.
Such an accurate way to describe that, because if you talk to people, it's not even like I'm endorsing you. It's not even like I'm saying I think you're right. Just like, what are your ideas so that people can be familiar with them? Maybe even for their own safety, they can be familiar with what you actually think.
Yeah.
You're still, it's like you gave them a platform, and you're a
Right.
pariah to get the hell
By the
out of
way,
here.
when you say Tom Woods, it's such a fucking good example of it because the shit people say about Tom, and like,
Yeah.
they may not agree with him on everything, mostly because I'm not a social conservative, but it's like he's just kind of a milquetoast dude as far as like his personality goes. But like, yeah, he's a radical when it comes to the politics. The people that hate him, it doesn't even make sense. The shit that they call him, like.
Yeah. So he was, they have a picture of him in a room where he gave a speech, and there's a little Confederate flag sitting on the table there. Well, I'm from Georgia. So every school child who came up in Georgia between now and like 2003, when they took the Confederate flag off the state flag, was photographed in a room with a Confederate flag. Like, that's
Yeah.
the state flag. So to me, it's like being photographed in a room with a Confederate flag is not damning. It's just there. So that was a shock for me because I was like, well, I live in Georgia. They're freaking everywhere,
Right.
So.
Well, he was at the inaugural League of the South meeting, and
Right,
that's what it
right.
is.
And then that was it. It's not like he continued to be like
Right.
a dues paying member and was like, yeah, I'm with these guys. They invited him to talk about secession, and decentralization is his whole thing.
Right.
And so he went and talked about that. Like I would too. I agree with the rest of the ideas.
the guy he went with is
Yeah.
totally accepted in all of the DC libertarian circles, though.
Who was with him that day?
Yeah, I believe it was Jeffrey Tucker.
Jeffrey Tucker. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I know about.
Yeah,
Jeff.
no one hates Jeffrey Tucker. He's not an evil racist, right?
Well,
No,
he's a
I've not
sharp-dressed
heard it.
man, so
He is. That's true.
But he
Yeah.
doesn't suffer the fate that Tom does.
yeah,
No.
and that sucks. It's ridiculous.
Well, Tom didn't want to sign their dystopian creepo document after Charlottesville, which Charlottesville was a singular event in our society that I think we're going to look back on and realize that's the thing that really turned the milk sour. We were already getting there, but that really put the nail in the coffin.
To me, what it stands out is that is the first incredibly glaring moment about how dishonest the media is.
Sure.
That's the first time, oh no, you have people on the ground, because it was one of the first things where you have actual people on the ground that aren't affiliated with a major news organization, and they're telling you one thing is going on.
Yeah.
And then you have the media
absolutely.
narrative, which is something completely different. And not to say I support racists, because I fucking don't, but what they're trying to make you think happened is not what happened. Even that guy who fucking accidentally hit that woman in that car, and I believe it was an accident, because in that chaos that happened, should he handle manslaughter or whatever it is? Absolutely. He murdered somebody because of his own failure to pay attention. That's what that is. But to go at it saying that he tried to murder a woman in cold blood is just, none of the evidence bears that out. Either way, how would you fucking prove?
It'd be hard to prove he intended to murder Heather Hare. Heather Hare was walking across the street at the moment that car came in contact. And I think another car was pushed into her is what had happened there. So it's the likelihood that he laid eyes on her is not, I do think he intentionally drove into the crowd. And so I am.
Oh, I don't dispute that either.
Yeah. So I don't say, okay, yeah, he meant to kill someone. I mean, maybe, I don't know. I think that things were crazy as shit that day. And his emotions were probably in such a state that he didn't know entirely what he was doing, but he was meant to use that vehicle to hurt people.
And let's not pretend that we're not dealing with a kid who found himself in a scary fucking situation too. Not that exalts him of guilt.
No,
but
it doesn't. That's such a tough situation, man. Because it's really fucked up that girl died, and but at the same time he injured 20 odd other people as well.
Yeah.
So
and the thing that always kind of comes back to me is that, so does that situation happen if you don't have an army of leftists out there goading them on? If they show up and march with their fucking tiki torches, then they just go back in the night.
No, that whole situation on the part of the law enforcement in that area was allowed to take the form that it did, and people were even kind of pushed into that area, corralled into that area together.
It was really weird how
it was weird. Yeah, there's some weirdness to me. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Liz. I didn't mean.
Oh no, I was just gonna say how it seemed like the opposite of what you would do if you were trying to defuse a situation, basically.
On the nose, exactly. To me, so there's a little bit of weirdness. What things are popping off right now. Maybe we can get some incriminating things on photos or videos if people start fighting with each other. And won't that make a big story? Or, I don't know what their motivations were, but I think there was some intentional hurting going on there.
I personally have such weird feelings about the Proud Boys because, well, I don't necessarily agree with a lot of what they stand for. There's that base part of me that just wants somebody to fight against the fucking assholes that were doing what they were doing in the Antifa crowd.
Yeah.
You don't get to just run amok and force people into violent situations, because that's what they were doing.
One is a response to the other, in my opinion. I think they've even stated themselves that they exist as a response to Antifa. Antifa is horrible. I tweet Antifa is trash once a week. My feelings about Antifa are not lukewarm at all.
Yeah.
They're so I understand why these things come into existence. You're still, as an individual, responsible for your actions, of course.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm glad that kid is in jail. He did something horrific, and just all of the factor that for a long time, we'll be talking about all the factors that led to that.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, that dude needs to be in a cage. So I'm
protect people. You can do that.
yeah. Because
Yeah.
if you get upset and your response to getting upset is you take a 2-ton vehicle and
Right. And
plow it into a crowd,
that's a problem.
you can't be out and around the other people. But yeah, there's also, I think that there are people who kind of, this is my own little tinfoil hat thing now, but I can see how police were herding people into one area, and everybody thought they were going to make their little story by filming some shit popping off, and it ended up turning into a citywide riot. And then CNN covered it for 12 hours straight, and in that 12 hours straight time, you saw 25 ads for different pharmaceuticals and whatever the F else they were selling. And it just put such a horrible taste in my stomach. Like, it just, everything about it was acrid. And I was like, I have to get away from this. This is poison.
So how long has that journey specifically been for you, since you kind of...
It started with Trump. It started with Trump's election.
Okay.
And everything just started becoming so wild. And I didn't recognize, like, the people that I had been close friends with for years. I didn't recognize them anymore. The things that they were saying and the violence that they were encouraging. And it terrified me. And like I said, I'm a student of history.
Mm-hmm.
And something about the way that the left acts now reminds me of the way the National Assembly behaved, and how pre-revolution France was, people compare us to the Weimar Republic just before Hitler all the time. And I'm like, no, this is pre-revolution France. This is about to get so much crazier than you think. And you see people embracing the image of the guillotine, the image of the guillotine. They embrace that. And I'm like, they may have killed a king with the guillotine, but they also killed 55,000 other innocent French people just for looking like revolutionaries, or, whatever else they could accuse you of witchcraft or whatever thing you're not supposed to do. And then they can kill you. And that's the same thing. I accuse you of being a Nazi to the guillotine with you. And you're like, I just like pineapple on my pizza, man. What's going on? I mean, it happens so fast.
Well, and it's crazy when you look around you, is because you joke about pineapple on pizza, but I wonder how many of those fucking people in those stupid groups on Facebook take that shit seriously, because they take some other really dumb shit seriously.
Yeah. And it's like, we're such a polarized society that people will hate people who like different foods than them.
Yeah.
And it's like it used to be kind of a thing we would rib each other about, like, this guy likes appletinis. Now it's like the apple.
God, I do love a good appletini, just for the record.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh man, am I the only one who has become like a full-on alcoholic since quarantine started? Or
yes, you are.
Yeah, I feel like I might be.
we're food people. So,
okay,
that's everybody's got their thing that kind of they're medicating with. But
I got fat.
Every kitty has a ball of string.
I got fat, and it takes too much alcohol to be worthwhile for me to drink anymore.
Fair enough. I lost 40 pounds over the last year, and I noticed that. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I noticed that I get drunk much quicker now, and it took a few mistake runs at it to be like, oh,
I had the exact opposite.
Right.
Like over the years, I don't drink much to begin with. When it was a couple years ago, and I drank $100 worth of liquor at a cheap bar and had a buzz.
Oh,
Was double fisting for like 3 hours and couldn't get above a buzz, and I was so disappointed. I'm like, I don't have the time or the money to get drunk anymore. That sucks.
Dang. Well, yeah, I'm looking forward to my forthcoming AA meeting after lockdown ends, because
Wait, you think there's an end to this? Weird.
No, yeah. Even if they let us back out into the open air prison, the economy is going to be so wrecked that, yeah.
Oh, I mean, I'm thinking more about the drones that they're already shipping to all those police stations right now.
I want to learn to use a sling with a stone.
Just kind of throw.
Like, yeah, there's like some poetic, like biblical poeticness to it too. I think
that's
just
true.
Like,
That's true.
Smash.
All right. Well, I have to go to work. So.
Oh, okay.
Thank you so much for coming on with us.
Absolutely.
Anytime you want to come back on, that was a lot of fun. Absolutely invite me to that horror movie group so I can talk to people about
I will. I have to dust it off and then reopen it. But if you want to just do the challenge yourself, it starts July 23rd, and you just watch a horror movie every day all the way to Halloween. Keep a list, and if you complete it, you would be the first person to ever complete the challenge. It is the biggest Halloween horror movie challenge on the internet. I'm just terrible at running groups. So the group is still there. It's on Facebook. It's called 100 Nights of Horror.
Okay.
And yeah, and I'll try to get you an invite. But yeah, I'll probably do a list this year.
Right on.
And
Yeah,
we'll,
we'll get all the.
and we'll put that I spit on your grave on it.
Oh God.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to get all this stuff for the show notes so we can make sure people know where to go and stuff. So
yeah, I'll send you all my stuff through I'm also on Twitter at Anarchy Toward, and that's where most people can find me. So if you want to
Okay, awesome.
chop it up on there.
Nice.
Cool.
All right. Well, hey, you go and you have yourself a fun Easter.
I
I'm gonna go
will.
and make some money.
All right, Liz,
God knows we need it.
Nicholas, it was great to meet you guys, and
You too.
I look forward to doing this again.
awesome.
The will is made in symmetry. Pulling back together dreams. Smallest particles we can see to the coastlines of the largest sea. The world was made in symmetry. Pulling back together dreams. Smallest particles we can see to the coastlines of the largest sea.
All right. So I hope you folks like that. What do you think, Liz? Was it great? Was it awesome? Was it weird?
Yeah, totally. And it's very cool. It's nice to know another person out there who likes to look at history as an actual practical useful thing to do.
Oh, that's what you take away from that? Fuck that. I'm glad to know that somebody out there gives a shit about horror. That's all I care about.
Well, yeah, that too. Could not. I would love for you to get into that whole 100 Days of Horror thing if you were interested in it.
I am very interested in it, and I'm going to find out how to get into it. Please
Yeah.
contact me, folks, so we can watch horror movies together, because Liz hates them.
I can't. My visceral system just can't. It's not a thing.
I'm a horror movie sci-fi guy, so there's that. It was a fun interview. I hope you guys liked it.
It was. Check her out on YouTube for sure, because she's got fun stuff up there too.
So if you want to help send us money while we're dealing with all stuff, or if you just want to learn cool stuff and get the show notes, head over to peacefreaks.com. You can spell it whichever way you like.
Yep.
It'll get you there. If you want to hear more from me, I've got Free Market Screen Earth, where I talk about the environment with Ben Pangy of Homesteads and Homeschools. Or is it Ben Pangy? I don't know. I've been working with a guy for a year. He's probably a Fed, isn't he? I don't know how to spell his name.
And if you happen to be a freaky person and you'd like to be on the show, or you have an idea for a show, we're kind of opening it up to a lot of different other things than what the show used to be about. So
We have a cool episode coming up next week. I'm really pumped about. I'm leaning into the parenting stuff right now because I'm more concerned about like life after all this nonsense ends. I'm trying to like prepare and
Yeah.
maybe be a responsible adult for a little bit.
all that grown up stuff.
Yeah. I should also say, if you guys are into sci-fi, go watch The Expanse and listen to me and Eric Heiler talk about that on Anarchy in Space.
That is an immensely entertaining show, I will say. And I don't even watch the show. I just listen to you guys talk about the show, so I don't have to watch the show.
I mean, we do pretty thorough recaps. You'll get most of what's going on, but it's nice to be able to talk about a show that it has so much depth to the politics. Because that's the one thing I'm almost caught up on, like the actual novels. Like I've read well beyond where the series goes on TV so far,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to talk to the writers so bad just to kind of see why they chose to write this the way they did, because the story is allegorical to me, and it's so thought out that the politics play front and center within it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like people working out like all the shit that we talk about theoretically with ANCAP philosophy and agorism and all that shit.
But in space,
Well, that's that's the way that you would have to deal with those things. We can't deal with them.
by all being in the same space, trying to make each other do the same thing.
We know how it works out on a finite planet.
Yeah.
But they're set up where they've moved out to 1,300 new worlds, and we've got space between here and there. You've got a whole lot of ways to kind of deal with the homesteading rights because there's property that no one stepped foot on in millions of years. Shit like
Yeah.
that. You move to a planet and there's not a soul on the planet other than you. Is it yours or is it the guy that the UN gives mineral rights to? Like those kind of things that you get a chance to work out in an actual story and kind of brain trust. I love it.
Yeah.
But, plenty of ways to do that. Other than that, I think we're good. I think we had a good time this week.
For sure.
I'm really want to focus on the good times with the show moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
I want to focus on that freaky part. I'm keep going with it.
Yeah.
Freaking out our guests mostly. Finding weird Christian people and talking about sex with them. It's my favorite thing to do.
It's a part of life, isn't it?
It is. It's a fun
That's a
part
whole
of life.
nother thing, but anyway.
Anyways, folks, thank you so much for stopping by. Head over to peacefreaks.com. I love you, baby, and I love all you people.
Yeah. Love you
Peace.
guys.
Inside of my head, 'cause I hate identity.
This podcast is a proud creation of the Mad Audio Lab. For more information, check out madaudiolab.com. Peace Freaks is part of the Liberty Hippie Podcast Network. If you like what we do, be sure to check out Homesteads and Homeschools, Free Markets Green Earth, Cannabis Heals Me, and This Week in Liberpods. We're living proof that libertarian doesn't mean washed up Republican.